Welcome to SoCal Sports Report's 86th podcast. I am John Stellman along with Vince Morales, and back from Ireland where there are no pints of beer to be found anywhere, John Adams. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to jump right into the Clippers. I think this was one of the most astounding, last-second, unbelievable happenings the NBA has ever seen, right? Up at the deadline for signings, and something nobody saw coming. Clippers weren't even a mention when you talked about Kawhi Leonard. It was either is he going to go to the Lakers or back to Toronto. But adding Kawhi to a team that won 48 games last year and plays pretty tough defense, this is going to be a very, very good team. I think they are the favorite in Vegas to win the NBA championship. The Lakers will have something to say about that. But let's talk about the Clippers first. Vinny, did you have any inkling of the Clippers being involved in this thing at all?
I didn't think so. I mean, I went on the air here and said that I thought it was Toronto, but I also went on the air and said that I didn't think the Lakers were in it. I was sort of, thinking that was always just a crock. I always thought it was between Toronto and the Clippers, and said that to anybody who would listen. I didn't think, and the thing that was like all of a sudden, it's like you hit, wow, exactly. It makes sense. It's like, of course, if I didn't think that Kawhi would choose the Clippers because they didn't have another star, and I just never connected the next dot, which was, well, maybe they can go out and get one. I never connected that dot. And so it became very obvious when it happened. It was like, oh, my God, of course.
Naturally,
that makes perfect sense in retrospect, right? So that's why I don't think it was ever about – I didn't think the Lakers were in it. And so anybody who says that he was thinking about it to the last minute, I just don't buy it. I don't buy it because the stars were already in place there. So if that's what he truly wanted – was to sort of blend in to a team that already had a star. So I think it was all leverage. The Lakers were always leverage, and I said from the beginning it was never the Lakers. Yeah, I was excited that they might have been considered, but it was Toronto. If it was LA, it was going to be the Clippers.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Really, the Clippers have a strong front office. A lot of quality people there who know what their jobs are and do them efficiently. They have a superior coaching staff. I think Doc Rivers is one of the best around, and here's a chance where he can be the number one dog, which I think, be that as it may, I think that still makes a difference. I'm not disappointed. I think I said last week that I would be good with him going to the Clippers because now we finally have a true LA rivalry. The Clippers have never been good when the Lakers were good, and the Lakers have been awful. When the Clippers were awful, the Lakers were good. So now we got two teams that might be playing for the Western Division Championship.
Yeah, if everybody stays healthy.
Right. Exactly. No, I mean, that's the $100,000 question. But, I'm a little confused here because I actually thought that the Clippers were the front runner for this, and you guys were saying I was shocked that he went to the Clippers. I thought it was a Lakers-Raptors thing. I actually had heard through, listening to some radio and TV that I thought the Clippers were someone of the front runner for this whole deal. I actually thought that I don't know if it's just him and his personality that he kind of teased the Lakers that he thought about going there. I thought it was between the Clippers and the Raptors. But when I just never heard the Raptors really being aggressive to try to really kind of make that happen, I wasn't shocked that he went to the Clippers. But what I've heard, which is quite interesting that you would never, is in my mind a little out of character, is that he was on the phone to guys like Paul George going, hey, let's put this whole thing together, where Kawhi is not one to pick up the phone and call anybody. It sounds like, he's very mysterious. He's very to himself. He doesn't want, but I mean, if that's the case, that he's on the phone with Paul George going, hey, you want to come back home with me and put this whole thing together? And you got a guy who's an owner that's worth billions, and I agree. Now we got a rivalry. I think it's going to be great when the two of them play. look at you got two star players that play at both ends of the court that are gonna go to a team that's got depth. I mean, they lose a guy that's got averaged about 19 points a game. They lose a guy that was their number 1 draft pick last year. I guess the question that I have for you two guys is, did they give up too much for this thing? I mean, obviously, what they gave up for Paul George, right? If they didn't have Kawhi Leonard, that would have been an absolute the most disastrous, terrible trade I've ever seen in my life. But now what you're getting, in this whole deal, how are they not the favorites to win this thing? You got a 5-star coach that's got respect. He's got a team that he took, into the playoffs that had no big name. They got this number. They have the 6th man of the year coming off the bench. And actually they're playing okay in the G League or the Summer League. So I think it's going to be really exciting to see how the West is done, because obviously now the Warriors are down, right?
Right.
The Lakers and the Clippers are up. I know we'll talk about the Lakers here a little bit differently a little bit later, but I just don't know about that depth, with the Lakers. But overall, I think it's gonna be fun, and the West is gonna be insane, right?
Yeah.
So
I was surprised.
Denver's good, and Utah's good, and I think
Houston?
it's gonna be Houston,
Portland.
right?
I was surprised only because, for the whole period, the Clippers had not made a move, had not signed that superstar that that Kawhi wanted, and I thought to myself, well, there's nothing going on there, so he's not going to go to the Clippers because he wants somebody to play with, and I think they say he also contacted Durant to see if he wanted to come before he signed with Brooklyn. But I think it's going to be fun. I mean, I'm a Laker fan.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably root for the Clippers when they're not playing the Lakers, but it's going to be fun. It's been great for L.A. I mean, L.A. is now the epicenter of the NBA. New York has just been shot down the tubes, where the Knicks got nobody. The Knicks are still a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
The Nets are going to have to wait maybe 2 years for Durant to return to what he was last year. And in the meantime, L.A. that's where it's at.
Yeah. And I think the NBA loves that, right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely, yeah. They love it when you've got that sort of rivalry, and right, that's going to be a Christmas Day game, right? Isn't it?
Probably, it's got
Lakers,
it, yeah.
Clippers,
They'll be
right?
changing the schedule right now.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's what it feels like to me. Again, from the beginning, as a Laker fan, it was like, yeah, right, Kawhi's coming to the Lakers. It was intriguing, and it piqued my curiosity and my interest. I never believed it. Never believed it. And you can go back on these broadcasts and you'll see I never believed it. Never. And I thought that if he was going to pick an LA team, it was going to be the Clippers. The Clippers did not overspend, because in the long run, what they were trying to do was get 2 guys, right? So they sent out all those guys to get George and Kawhi. They were conjoined twins at that point. And most of those picks aren't even theirs, right? They got those in other, they're not even their picks, and then you can't give 5 picks in a row, so it has to be a swap pick. And so, and again, for them to get Kawhi and Paul George for guys whose names we don't even know,
May never be any good.
who are all question marks.
That's right.
No way.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic. So that being said, there's the Laker fan in me that says, I never for a minute, I wanted to believe, but I never for a minute believed Kawhi was coming. So for me, in a vacuum, if you look at the Lakers and what they got in a vacuum, without the Kawhi, dramatics and all of that drama, that's a pretty good roster that they compiled. It's a good team. Is it as good as the Clippers? No. Defensively, absolutely not. That Clippers team is going to be an absolute defensive juggernaut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And offensively, you just look around, and that's a tenacious, gritty team. That's a team that's going to win a lot of games. So, but you know what? I'm not going to sit here and cry over spilled milk. I'm looking at that Lakers squad, and I'm thinking they put together some good shooters, some good players. Are they going to be able to play enough defense? I don't think so. Are they going to make the playoffs? Well, if everybody stays healthy, yes. Yeah. Can they compete with the Clippers? Absolutely. But don't count out the Warriors yet when Clay comes back.
Right.
You know, they won without Durant, before.
73
and
games.
And they can do it. So, they won a lot of games without Durant. Yeah. And so, but that's a very intriguing Lakers roster, right? There weren't a lot of head scratching. I didn't once look at that and go, why him? Cousins a little bit, but he's still a terrific player, and can energize that team, but he didn't look very good.
And you got him for little money too.
Right,
so
exactly.
Exactly.
Wasn't a high risk.
No.
I guess my question to you guys is, it's still a Laker town, right? And they've got a lot of championships to back that up. If the Clippers, is it going to take for the Clippers to win a championship to even be considered in the same conversation with them, or how is all going to go down? Would it ever become a 50-50 type of town? I mean, the way that I look at it is, I think you could really make a big dent by moving your team to Seattle, to be honest with you.
I think it's not going to become a Clipper town. I don't know if it ever will, but what they've got to do first is get that new stadium built across the street from the Rams facility, and then start putting some banners up. But until they do that, they're always going to be in the shadow of the Lakers, especially playing in Staples.
But, I mean, we've talked about it. Wouldn't it be better just to move the team to Seattle and get out of L.A.?
The value drops considerably.
Does it?
Yeah,
the value absolutely
of the brand, right?
LA market.
Okay.
Yeah, but not to Orange County. I mean, it drops considerably. But here's the thing. If you want your own arena, what do? You either pay for it yourself, right? Or you move somewhere where somebody will help out. I'm not saying Seattle is one of those municipalities that's going to say, sure, we'll give you tax dollars and they'll vote for that. No, they're a lot like San Diego. They're going to say, not out of my pocket. Sure, you can move here, but it's not coming out of my pocket.
Right.
Don't tax me to get your new arena. So that seems like he's here. They're entrenched, but is that ideal? To be the second fiddle without a real banner at Staples. I don't know. Again, for me, I'm not one of these guys looking, with the blinkers on and looking forward and saying, who's the next guy to win a title, because it looks odds wise like that's the Clippers. To me, it's like you got to have rearview mirrors and a wider path. It's still a Lakers town.
No,
right? It's still Lakers town. They still got more banners on the rafters, and that's the way.
But will banners ever trump it into being a Clipper town?
Take a long time.
Take 16. I mean, you have to tie. I mean, what is it?
Again, what does that mean, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Does that mean that because the Lakers still sell out their games, right? And they still can charge a premium for their seats. The value of the franchise, I mean, how do you measure it, right? Is it the number of fans? Look, it's going to grow. The Clippers, it's going to grow. And if they win a title or even
that's
get to
LA,
a conference,
they win.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So it depends how you measure it, right? It depends how you measure it. Do you measure it by going into a school and say, hey, kids in LA, middle school, wear a jersey of your favorite team, and then count them up and figure out, how many there are. There's always going to be more Laker jerseys in that regard, right? Because their parents grew up as Laker fans, and it's going to take a lot to move them off of that. As long as the Lakers have LeBron and Anthony Davis, this isn't like the Clippers have moved ahead in the mindset of LA yet. On the court, they may have,
right?
But in the mindset of LA, they haven't yet.
Yeah, you go on sports talk radio and it's still all Lakers.
No doubt.
You don't hear any mention of the Clippers. Not really. I wonder how many.
But you're going to start.
You will
you're going to start. Yeah.
How many Kawhi jerseys have the Clippers sold?
Yeah.
Tons. I mean, have they started selling individual seats yet? Individual tickets?
I don't know.
Because when that happens, you'll know.
Yeah, I understand. I heard something today too that they are currently involved with Memphis on a sign and trade for Andrew Iguodala, who has a $17 million contract, but the Clippers can certainly afford that. He's a beast on defense too. That would really tighten them up. Well,
they don't need to be tightened, but
well,
I mean, it's like
are the Lakers pursuing that also, or
no? They can't afford the $17 million. They couldn't afford his contract.
Yeah.
All right, Lakers. I like that. I think they still have one spot left, but I like what they've done. they've finally done something that Magic couldn't do, which is surround these guys with shooters. I think they've signed some good shooters. They're talking about LeBron at point guard.
Really?
I don't like that too much.
Well,
you don't want to wear him out.
Yeah, let me
Bringing the ball
stop
up
you there.
every time.
What do you do with Rondo?
You ever watched the game and counted how many times he brought the ball?
Yeah,
up?
yeah.
Well,
Almost
yeah.
every time.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
true.
So you can call him whatever you want,
Right.
but he's got the ball.
Positionless.
He's got that ball in his hands.
Yeah, that's true.
X amount of times. Last year, he had it X amount of times. The year before, he's going to have it X amount of times next year. I mean, let's get it very straight. Magic Johnson was a moron to think that it's like we're going to get LeBron and then we're going to have somebody else be the facilitator, and that's why he overplayed the whole Lonzo Ball thing. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm glad Magic and Lonzo are gone, right? Because that was never the kind of team to put together for LeBron. And Vogel came in and said, look, this is the best drive and dish player we've ever seen in the history of the game. Get this guy some shooters, separate, spread the court, and let him do what he does best. And I'm glad to see that Pelinka has been smart enough to follow Vogel's advice and his philosophy and surround him with guys who can get the ball on the pass and shoot. That's exactly what this Laker team has missed. So offensively, it's going to be a better team next year. Defensively, I don't know.
Pick and roll should really be good with Braun and AD.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
It's going to be fantastic.
yeah. That should.
It's going to be fantastic. And now that you have more consistent guys shooting,
Right.
The rock. One of the things that I was like, at first I wasn't really happy that they re-signed KCP, but then there was another part of me that thought, you know what? With a different roster, he could end up being a better player.
Exactly.
He could be the kind of guy that we expected him to be when we got him. So and with Kuzma not having to defend the 5, that whole experiment, and those were the two most ridiculous
That was
things
terrible.
that this team could thrive and be a championship caliber with a creator and a small at the 5. Stupid.
So Cousins is going to be your starting center, right? Is that how
Davis is,
Or
Davis.
Davis?
I mean, it's sort of like you can have Davis and
right.
LeBron. You don't really need a center. Is it
Yeah.
going to be JaVale McGee? Is it going to be Cousins? It doesn't matter, right?
Right,
I mean, it's
yeah.
like you got 3 bigs and you got 2 smalls. That's
right?
right. That's how it
Yeah.
works, right? So, AD can protect at the rim. JaVale can protect a little bit at the rim. Cousins protects at the rim. It's all just who's there.
Yeah.
Right. It's not about who actually is a big, but it would Davis, LeBron.
Because what's Davis, 7 foot? Right around there.
I think so. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But they're going to be. They should have a good. They're going to be strong in the front court. There's no doubt about that.
Mhm.
It's just it's going to be the defense and the
Yeah.
backcourt that's going to be questionable, probably going into the start of the season. But they should not, like you said too. I think injuries are going to play a big role. I mean,
Yeah.
Cousins is only 28. He's still young,
Mm-hmm.
but he's been
God, he
injury
looks like
Yeah, he looks like
38.
he's 42. Yeah.
Again, some of that is the injury. Some of that is that he wasn't able to get into perfect shape with the injuries that he also had this year at the end of the year. They're not going to ask him to play
prone. No.
30 minutes.
No.
I mean, that's just not. So I'm fine with that. I mean, this roster seems more spread out. It feels like, look, if I can watch a game and sort of predict who Vogel's going to send into the game in the fourth quarter, at the beginning of the fourth quarter, I'm going to feel a lot better because I never knew that with Luke. And it always felt like he was guessing. It felt like he was guessing, or he was trying to make guys prove themselves. And these young guys were sort of looking around and thinking, why aren't I starting the fourth? There were whole portions where Lonzo was gone because why? Because he couldn't hit a free throw. They couldn't trust that he was in there, or he thought he was going with the momentum. And then there were whole times when, like, where's Ingram?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Why isn't Ingram in the game? How is this kid going to learn how to play in big time situations if he's not playing in the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
Did it make the team better? No, I don't think so. And I think that was the problem with Luke and that whole philosophy of of what he was trying to accomplish with his roster and his lineups. I feel better with Vogel.
Yeah.
Or Jason Kidd, however you want to look at it.
Well, that's I mean,
Lionel Hollins?
that's what we said it before.
Yeah.
It's like why is Kidd still around? We traded the guy he was supposed to mentor.
That's right.
Why did we spend so much money on?
He should have been included.
Kidd?
He should have been included.
Can
in
we
that
trade
package.
him to Memphis
yeah.
for Iguodala?
Yeah. There was a time there when I thought that they might have had to reactivate Kidd to be a point guard since he might have taken just to be a player coach, and say, well, you're paying me $3 million as a coach. I'll take the minimum, the veteran minimum.
The one thing that we all thought that by stringing everybody along like this, there were going to be two losers in this scenario that didn't get Kawhi. But the Lakers aren't a loser. I think Toronto really got stung. They lost Kawhi. They lost Dennis Green. They are
Danny Green, right?
Danny Green. Yeah, they are really. The Lakers are fine. I think the Lakers will be fine.
Yeah, that's the one guy that in my mind makes a big difference. I mean, makes a big difference in that lineup as far as hitting the threes, spreading the court. A guy with championship chops. That it's a different lineup. It's a veteran lineup, and it's very, very different than the youth project that was happening there last year.
I didn't know much about was it Quentin Cook, who they signed away from Golden State. He was pretty good in the finals. I didn't realize he was a 3-pointer, and he gave him some pretty good minutes. I never really paid much attention to him in the past. So he should be a help as well. Hope.
Again, I think it all comes down to what Vince said at the very beginning. You need to play defense.
Well, they never have.
Right.
You go back to Phil Jackson; they didn't play defense.
Yeah.
So, let's look at the NBA projections. I mean, the West again is going to be, just
brutal.
an animal. It's going to be brutal.
Dallas is pretty good now.
Dallas
right?
is Dallas
They've upgraded.
And they who's the guy that Knicks traded him during the season?
The big I don't know where he's from.
They're going to be Dallas is going to be
Porzingis.
Porzingis, yeah.
San Antonio's always good. The East is going to be, a little bit softer.
Does the East is the Celtics the top team in the East? Probably.
I don't know.
I mean,
because Toronto's not.
Kemba.
Yeah.
Toronto's not.
Toronto lost
KD.
everybody.
We got Milwaukee.
Philly.
Oh, Milwaukee.
Yeah,
that's
and
right.
Philly still.
But it's going to be an interesting season.
And Butler went down to the Miami, and I think he's trying to recruit.
If Westbrook goes to Miami,
Westbrook,
yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see the win totals. Vegas's win totals.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
I don't know if they've released
got 'em
those
out yet?
or if they're out yet. I think there's futures. They have future numbers. Like what do they have?
Please hold.
What do they have the Clippers at? Like 2-1 or 3-1?
3-1, I think.
That's not a value number.
No.
But I'd love to know what the
Maybe those numbers aren't out yet.
The win totals, the NBA win totals, and for Vegas.
Let's switch gears here for a minute, and I think the Women's World Cup deserves some time. They were fantastic throughout. They did what they had to do. They proved once again they were deep and talented, and I'm not surprised that they beat the Netherlands, but that was a win they had to get. They got it. They still want gender equality.
Yeah.
I wrote some numbers down here, and I think it's absolutely atrocious, really, what FIFA is doing to them. They got $4 million for winning that thing, and the whole prize pool was $30 million. The French men last year last July for winning the 2003, they got $38 million. And they're bumping the men's purse in 2022 to $440 million. I mean, why can't the women at
Right.
least, they doubled it from 30 to 60 million for the next World Cup.
For the women. For the women. Yeah.
from 30 to 60 million.
And what is FIFA's response to that? Do we know?
They doubled the purse.
Yeah.
They doubled the purse. But
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at that towards the men, it's
the men's is 400.
is that because more people are coming to watch the men and they're not filling out the stadiums for the women? Is that
Well, some of it is the TV deal.
TV
TV
deal?
deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. FIFA and the games that build up to the World Cup they have more viewership. And look, I don't agree with this, but what I'm saying is that the rationale for it is that FIFA makes more money from advertising and from the TV deals for the men's side because of the games that the ratings that they get for the games that are World Cup qualifying games more broadly. Now, if you narrow it down to just focus on what the U.S. women do and what kind of ratings they draw, then the pay equality thing makes sense.
Right.
For me, it doesn't make sense for a team like Thailand, right? And those are the reasons why, because they just don't have. There's not enough money. Some of these national these women have to go and get real jobs. It's the national teams don't pay them enough. And look, that's a national thing on their side, and
right.
And FIFA could be absolutely better about that, and they haven't. But it's very clear that FIFA is not sympathetic to those sorts of things. Just 4 years ago, in the 2015 World Cup in Canada, they made those women play on artificial turf. Let me ask you, if Lionel Messi was forced to play on artificial turf, and they just sort of, this is where you're playing, there'd be an uproar. Barcelona would say, I'm not letting my guy play in the World Cup if you're going to make him play on artificial turf. And the women complained a little bit, but you didn't hear anything about it. And it was just, to me, it was unconscionable that FIFA would say, well, this is where you get to play.
Yeah.
Take it or not. Here you go. Yeah. And we're not going to pay any more money to get you into places that have grass turf, because the places that have grass don't seed enough, and you're just going to have to play there. Yeah. It was unconscionable, and to think that that's how little they value the women on that side, and that was just 4 years ago. That was at the last World Cup, where they were forcing them. So it doesn't surprise me that there's a pay gap, right?
Yeah,
because there was a psychological, emotional dismissal gap from FIFA when they made the women play on artificial turf.
And these women are starting to speak too.
Yeah.
They're coming out, and even their speeches today.
I want to make a quick correction. I misspoke a minute ago. The total prize purse for the women was 30 million. The French won 38 million in 2016, and the FIFA doubled that amount doubled the women to 60, and the men will be 440 at the next World Cup.
Jeez.
But they made 38. The French men made 38 last July, and the women made 4. But like you said, I mean, you're not talking about, the U.S. by itself. You're talking about the entire World Cup.
When you look at the World Cup, right, you're looking at strong teams from Germany and strong teams from Argentina and Brazil and England. I mean, it's way more broad, where you can look at the World Cup for the women and you're thinking, okay, there's 6 teams that can win this thing. It's just
FIFA wants to expand the field next year, and I'm not sure that there are teams that are good enough.
Right, exactly.
I mean, because
Thailand's a good example of that.
Yeah, I mean,
they're sort of 15 or something like that. Are you? Yeah, it's like stat day.
13 to 0.
Yeah. And even the teams like South America, in South America, women's teams where their men's teams are good, and you expect them to be good. And Brazil only has a couple, good players.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of depth there, and their star Marta is sort of aging now.
Yeah, she couldn't stay healthy. Yeah,
and and where do they play? Pro, right? I mean, it wasn't very long ago that the U.S. didn't have a pro team. There was a great article in the L.A. Times about a local young woman, McCall Zerboni, who played at UCLA, played professionally, but had to actually worked in the marketing office as well while she was in this professional league. And then when that professional league went belly up, and she was out of a job for a little while, and then the new women's professional league came in, and then she was the oldest woman to make the U.S. women's national team at age 30. She was called up by Jill Ellis and just barely missed making this World Cup team. And it was a disappointment, but she, is still a huge fan and supporter of the women's squad. But, what we're seeing is that they're, there may be an English women's Premier League, but you just don't hear about it,
right?
And there are women playing elsewhere, but most of those women are playing in the in South America, but they're playing in the United States, and those teams are having that league is having trouble being solvent, and if there's only one sort of thing that's paying them, like FIFA and the national teams, it's harder, and I don't see where they're going to be able to expand to. What is it, 24 teams or 30? I mean, it feels ridiculous. You're gonna get more 13-0, 13-0 games in that.
The ratings had to be pretty good here for the women's.
Absolutely, 14 million.
Yeah.
For that final. I think that is something ridiculous.
They're screaming for the U.S. to make it to the finals.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, exactly. Television. Yeah, the suits love that. Okay, the All-Star Weekend. I did not. I guess the home run derby was quite a.
Oh, it was very exciting.
Yeah, that was exciting.
It was very exciting. I liked how they did it, and they're up against the clock. I think they can call 2 timeouts, but I mean, Jock Peterson hits home run on his last pitch to tie Guerrero. So Alonso, right? Is that won it? But I watched. I got entertained by it. Usually in the past, it's like, boy, this is a sleeper. But I was entertained. It was fun.
I loved
fun to
the
watch.
rock and roll theme with Cleveland and all of that stuff that they put into it. I was intrigued. I was very intrigued.
I heard everything about Cleveland running this thing was sensational.
Yeah,
and they almost feel like a smaller town. They get more out of it than if you bring it to L.A. You know what I mean?
We'll see next year.
Yeah,
we'll find out next year. Yeah. I thought I watched the game. Wasn't didn't put me to sleep, but it wasn't a great game. We didn't have a lot of good representation locally, except for Shane Bieber from
Laguna Hills High School. Yeah,
MVP with us. 3 strikeouts in the.
You had a lot of Dodgers playing.
Yeah,
the Dodgers lost the game for the National
League,
League, by the way.
Two pitchers gave up a run. Yeah,
Trout was 0 for 2.
He hit the first one really hard.
Oh
though.
yeah, that guy's chest is going to be.
Marte, he felt it off his chest.
I guess.
I'll tell you what was fun. I liked him being mic'd.
That was terrific. I thought that was terrific.
I thought the whole baseball thing with first they interviewed Verlander, right?
Yeah,
and they had Bellinger and they had Yelich in the outfield. They were mic'd up, and
Freeman was good. I love Freeman.
Yeah, and they're talking about the baseball, and they Justin, you were very open about how he thinks they're wound a little too tight, and I think he was, he took the politically correct way about going around things, saying, "Hey, look, I think we all just need to talk about it and come up with a solution." And then they're like, "Hey, what do you think about Bellinger?" And they're like, "We love it."
Yeah, we love it.
Yelich is like, "I got no problems. Keep it.
Exactly.
Keep the ball as it is."
Yeah,
young home run hitters don't care. And listen, when I believe that the ball's different. It's juiced a little bit too, but I'm not going to listen to a 36-year-old pitcher, right? Complain that he's given up 26 home runs this year. You know what? You're 36 years old.
You're not
you probably lost.
Yeah,
you probably lost a little bit, and some of it is the ball, and some of it is you're 36 years old.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Joey Gallo's home run went out in about a second and a half.
Oh my God!
Yeah, 200 miles an hour,
112 miles.
It was
exit velocity.
But I loved the guys are playing defense, and I think it was when they put all the Astros together.
Yeah.
And the guy hits a gapper, and and Brinkman's like, "Go get that!" Like they're screaming at each other.
Well, I don't know who the
and
left-
then all of a sudden he throws the ball and it goes like away from second base. And Springer's like, "Sorry, I threw a cutter. I didn't mean to. I threw a cutter." And then who's the second baseman for the Yankees? It's a French name. Oh man, LeBeau or
I can think of it. I can't remember.
and Springer's like, "This is the biggest second baseman I've ever seen in my entire life because I can't see what's going on at the plate. I got to move my way around."
Yeah.
So it's just,
Mayhew.
Mayhew, yeah. And so it was. I thought it was great. I hopefully they continue.
I
to
like
do that.
the I forget which outfield. I think it was one of the Houston, the left fielder.
Brantley.
Running hard for a foul fly.
Yeah.
Joe Buck says, "Don't worry about that next time. I'll tell you if the ball's going foul.
Yeah.
Just save your energy."
Yeah, and I thought Buck and Smoltz did a great job. So it was very entertaining. I liked it from start to finish, and
Yeah, Buck's fine when he doesn't have a stick up his ass. Yeah, he's absolutely fine. He was having fun. That's why he was okay last night.
Yeah, it was good. I thought that added.
And Lindor was great. Lindor goes up to the second base umpire. "Hey, do you have fun at dinner the other night?" "Yeah." "It's my town. I'll take care of you," he says.
And then
he looks
Tell
up
you
at
where to
Buck.
go.
He goes, "Where are you guys?" "Oh, there you are. Hey, how's it going?"
his pitcher got his spike stuck on
Yeah,
that one
yeah,
throw,
oh,
and
yeah, and
he
he's-
was razzing him a little
Yeah.
bit. It was
And then
great.
the next pitch is up on the net.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And he's
right.
like, "They have no clue what's coming next." That's a great way to set them up.
I wouldn't dig in there too deep. But
So I thought that was great.
no, it was fun. It was
Yeah.
fun. The thing that I didn't watch and I have taped and I'm looking forward to watching is the Futures game, which is something that I always look forward to. And so
Yeah, I didn't catch it either.
Yep. So I'm gonna go back and watch that. I'll let you know.
And then even Terry Francona, right? The coach for Cleveland, is that? I mean, he was just like he was getting when Bieber struck the guy out.
Oh, yeah.
It was great. I thought everybody was totally into it, and I thought Dave Roberts and Cora did a great job as coaches when they were.
I think it was
mic'd
a
up.
great. That was a great moment too when they sent Sabathia out.
Yeah.
To
Turn around and get away.
talk to Chapman.
Yeah.
just
I think it's hard to send a guy in pinstripes out, but
he's a Cleveland guy.
I thought it as a baseball fan, it was a nice moment.
Yeah.
But the way that the booth played that up, it was like, oh, this crowd's gonna give me, and it's like maybe they should have, but they didn't. I mean, a few of them were standing, and they had to like turn the mics up to get any kind of. There wasn't the kind of reaction that they wanted. So like it was a nice moment, but it didn't. The fans didn't react to it the way I think they were expecting. They wanted him to get sort of like a standing ovation, that one curtain call.
Yeah.
It did not happen, and Buck and Smoltz tried to play it up like it was happening, and it wasn't.
yeah.
It was not.
I got early. Here we go. Clippers 3-1, Bucks 9-2, Lakers 5-1, 76ers 8-1, Golden State 12-1, Houston 12-1, Utah 14-1, Nuggets 16-1, Celtics 25-1, and then Portland. So let me see here.
Do we have wins? Total?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think 7 of the top 10 or 11 are in the West.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
Yeah.
That's not surprising.
And Dallas is even down there
You're
now.
not going to get a value pick out of the West, a value bet out of the West.
Yeah, you will at Dallas at 50-1.
What were the Warriors? 12-1.
Warriors were
20-1?
Were the Warriors? Yes, 12-1.
12-1. Yeah, I don't think so not without Clay.
Hey, the Rockets 12-1's not bad. If they can like each other.
We anything looking ahead, Vinny, as we start the second half of the baseball season now? Dodgers seem to be comfortable in spite of a 3-game losing streak.
Yeah.
They're
When you're 13 and a half up, you can take those things. The second half is always it's a grind, right? And that you're laughing all the way to a 13 and a half game lead. You got to get some guys healthy. For me, like right now, the concern is that we might give some of that back when we start to bring Freese and Seager and Pollock back and put them in the lineup. And it's going to take them a while to get their swing back, right? So there's some holes in your lineup when they come back. you want them back. They need to play, but those are going to be some empty at bats for a while, right? Some empty swings, not a lot of production, and that's just the way it goes, right?
You think they're going to be in the running to go out and get another arm?
Yeah, I think it depends on the arm. There is nobody out there who looks at that bullpen and says, yeah, it's done. I mean, unless you absolutely tag Urias and say, you're a reliever now. Mm-hmm. You're never going to start again, and we're grooming you to be the closer, and because, Kenley's lost a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. So work on another pitch, and let's get you closer money. You saw it, right? Kenley still is churning the saves, but he hasn't looked dominant.
Yeah.
And so, it might, but Friedman.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when Will Smith was, gave up that dong to Gallo, he was probably on the phone with Farhan, his buddy with the Giants, and saying, "Did the price go down? Can I get him for a little cheaper now?" Since he
talking about the Giants, do you think anybody will go get Baumgartner? Like, I think Minnesota should go get him. I think he'd be great there.
Minnesota's is slipping.
Yeah, I mean
that 12-game lead or whatever they had is 5.5 now, something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cleveland go get him, right? Because Cleveland's the team that's. I talk about Minnesota. I forget that guy's name, but that guy was nasty last night. Blasio, their pitcher. Oh, he was throwing wiffle balls at 92 miles and 95 miles an hour. But yeah, that was I'm surprised nobody's gone after Baumgartner yet, because his last 4 or 5 outings have been really strong.
Well, the trade deadline is I got 20 days.
Plus, you can't do anything after. It's not like last year where you could get him up till the 1st of August. Once the trade deadline's over, that's it. No more non-waiver movement. I think the Angel season will be decided by the end of the weekend. They got 3 with Seattle and 3 with Houston. 6.5 out now behind.
Yeah, that was a tough one to take, actually. And then all of a sudden it was a snowball, right? And you break a leg, and then Luke Roy gets taken out at the plate, and it's just been a snowball effect. And
typical Angel season.
Yeah.
Just when you get your starting lineup back,
and you're kind of pressing, to become, a contender there in the wild card, and then you take that big punch to the stomach. So,
did either of you hear the Houston announcers, or any of the reports written by like Houston bloggers and reporters? It's disgusting. He went out of his way. He wasn't trying to get out of his way. He plowed Luke Roy. He went inside the line and he plowed Luke Roy. And anybody who thinks that was an accident is full of crap. And I couldn't believe the Astros announcer saying, "Oh, he was moving. That was an accident. That was an accident."
You got a buddy of yours as a Houston announcer.
Yeah, I don't.
It's bull.
It's
bull.
I didn't see. I was in Europe, so I didn't see any of this. So
let me tell you, you know what? If Osmus doesn't spin somebody's cap next time they see. That was not an accident. There was not an accident. Houston's announcers were playing it up like, "Oh, if they overrule this, if they go to that's just crazy. That's the worst call." And then they said, they called him out for plowing the guy, going out of his lane and plowing the guy. He came inside,
right? And
they called him out. And the Astros announcers were, "Oh my God, that's that's an accident. We feel really bad for the guy, but that's a terrible call. That's a terrible reversal." And I'm thinking, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, what game are you watching?
What game are you watching? And then I saw a report, like one of those local Bleacher reports or whatever from somebody in Houston saying, "Look, here's the video. Watch where he thinks Lucroy is going inside to tag, so he dodges." Bull. It's bull. He knew he was going to hit Lucroy, and you slide.
Yeah.
So
slide.
So I'm watching it for the first time.
He's 2.5 feet inside.
Did they throw the guy out?
They called him out at the
They
plate.
called him out, but they didn't throw him out.
He dislodged the ball. I don't know that they threw him out.
No.
Threw him out of the game.
No.
Type of deal.
No, they called him out, and the Houston announcers were up in arms with Luke Croy there, with the fencer's pose, almost unconscious
Because
and
the kid,
bleeding.
what's crazy is how aggressive the slide was, and
It's
how
not a slide.
Well, I'm sorry, not the slide. I mean, how aggressive the play was. Like the guy's on his knees, bummed that he did it. You know what I mean? Like he's like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? So
He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, is this kind of an act? What's going on?
It's an
here?
act.
Yeah.
It's an act.
So again, I wasn't. So did they throw at him, or did anything? No retaliation.
Nothing.
And Osmus is a catcher. Like,
Exactly.
interesting.
No, look. I
He's
don't
got a
have a
concussion,
dog in
and
that.
what else does he have?
I don't have a dog
What's
in that
that?
fight.
He's
but
got a concussion, and what else does he have? I heard he's got a concussion. I don't know if that's true or not.
I don't know. He probably broke his nose.
Yeah, broke
don't
his-
I don't know.
Broken
He
nose.
broke a nose.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Wow.
It was terrible. I mean, it was absolutely terrible.
I'm gonna have to listen to there's commentating going on. I wonder if this is the Astros. I got it on silent, so I turn the volume up after we're done here to see what it's all about.
So listen to it and listen to they immediately go to defend the runner. They immediately say, "Oh, he wasn't trying to do that." No, and if they reverse this and throw him out, it's crazy. That's the worst call. I can't believe they did that. That's the worst call.
That's old school baseball right there.
Yeah.
Pete Rose and
Yeah, but there, I
Oh
guess.
yeah, so I see what you're talking about, Vince. He steps out of the baseline to the right, looking like he thinks he's going to avoid. Then he comes in this far from the end and just lowers his left shoulder. So I know now. I see.
Luke Croy is never in front of the plate.
Oh,
He's
not.
never.
It's not even close.
He's never on the outside of the baseline. He's always in the infield. He's never on the outside of the baseline. There's no reason to try to avoid. I mean, it's just not believable that the guy was going in the infield to avoid Luke Croy when Luke Croy was never outside the infield.
So the one thing that comes to my attention right off the bat is when he's on his knees or on his squatting down going, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Not one guy's come up to him again, "Get the hell out of here." Like, push him away. Like, get the hell out of here. Not one guy has done that. They just go up to Luke Croy and go, "You okay? You okay?" Like a guy like Pujols, a guy like Simmons, they're sitting there, and I'm like, how are you not just going, "Dude, go to your dugout. Just get out of here. Just push him away."
Yeah,
Exactly.
even
Exactly.
if you believe that it was an accident, it's like, get the hell out of here. Right.
I'll tell you right now, playing high school baseball, do you know who would be the first one to get in the guy's face? This guy right here. He would have been all over this guy going, "What the hell? You get the hell out of here."
Unfortunately, I was probably more like
And by the
guy
way,
who
he would have
hit
ran.
Luke Croy.
He would have ran harder from left field to home plate than he would from home to first.
or from the first base coaching box, which
That's a
started
whole nother
one brawl.
story. Oh my gosh! Yeah, no, that's. I'm gonna have to.
yeah, that guy should be suspended for the same number of games that Luke Roy is out. If Luke Roy has to go on the
Yeah, I totally agree.
disabled list or the injured list
Totally agree.
for 2 weeks,
And I'm going to voice my
opinion.
opinion too, my buddy. Now that I saw that, he's on vacation.
Watch it at full speed.
I
Watch
did.
it.
No, I
Watch it
watched
at
in
slow
slow motion,
speed.
yeah.
Listen to what the announcers are saying about it, and tell me that's not homerism.
Homerism.
Total homerism.
Yeah. All right, let's shift gears to the Breeders' Club for a minute. I can't believe that Santa Anita's not decided yet whether they're going to allow Jerry Hoffendorfer to train horses for the Breeders' Club when the company TSG that owns the racetrack has already banned him. The company that owns the racetrack has banned him from all their race courses.
For 1 year, right?
Yeah, and Arcadia, Santa Anita is one of those race courses.
Right.
Can the Breeders' Cup do they have priority over the owner of the track?
Apparently.
Yeah.
Gee, that's amazing.
Maybe because it's an outside event, right? They're just using the facility.
It's
but
not their meat.
It's not their meat. It's an outside.
I'm guessing that's the only reason how they can get around it.
Yeah,
The
because
same way you said like the USGA or
Yeah, so Pebble Beach actually runs the operation for the U.S. Open, but that's the only U.S. Open that actually they do that. They come in, they're like, you want to use our golf course? We run all the retail. You don't. You don't have to do any buying. We'll pay you a percent. I have a feeling that this is the Breeders' Cup that goes and rents out probably the track for a week or whatever, and then they just say thank you. Your people can sweep up and take our tickets and do our stuff, but we're in charge here. So my take is this, Vince, and I was thinking about this today. You have a horse that's running in the 7th race at the Breeders' Cup, and you watch a horse go down in the 4th race. Are you thinking about scratching your horse? Or
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
Like
if that happens,
unless it's a bad step, you know what I mean. It's you see that a horse has hit another hoof, or it was a traffic key and a horse got it was a bad. A horse pushed another horse into a rail or whatever.
Right.
But that horse is coming around and takes a bad step or does whatever. I don't know.
I mean, on the day of,
right,
absolutely.
Yeah. Like you're in the 4th race, and you're like, wow. Bob, we're gonna scratch.
Look, we don't get a lot of rain in November, right? October, November was it the first week of November? But if it rains, I would seriously reconsider.
Yeah.
I might scratch my horse.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the Breeders' Cup allowing this guy to train horses for the Breeders' Cup? Should he be allowed to come back and do that or not?
I'm just like, I think it's one of those things where if you're gonna slap the guy's hand and you're gonna take him out for a year, I don't care what track you're suspended for a year. You're done for a year. Yeah. You can't do anything with any of your horses anywhere. Now, is it okay to give it to your assistant trainer to run the horses? And you just, I don't know. I would assume that you're not allowed to do any communication, not be able to go to a track. You have to step away from the whole thing. And maybe you have an assistant runs everything, right? But I don't know. I think it should be completely. You've done some wrong stuff here. You're done for a year.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
you can't discipline somebody and then back off. I mean, that's not a good example to set. LAFC back in business. Haven't missed a step. They now have a plus-minus of 34, which is unbelievable. They've scored 50 goals and given up 16 goals in 19 games.
That game against Sporting Kansas City.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
Where we had that at halftime. It was a close game, right? I mean, I think it was either tied or it was 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1.
And then they ended up beating them 5-1.
5-1.
Crazy.
Yeah, they're just.
They're a juggernaut. I mean, they're scoring and playing well. I mean, they're the class.
Yeah.
Class of the league.
I'd like to see them win the whole thing.
What are your guys' take on this tennis star, 15-year-old?
Yeah, 15-year-old.
Go Golf.
Yeah, Go Golf. She lost 6-3, 6-3, but that was a pretty good player she lost to. I mean,
number 1 player in the world, right?
Former.
Sorry.
I think tennis needs a new superstar.
Yeah, but there's a lot of rules into her situation, right? So there's you're only allowed. There's a rule in the WTA, is that what it is, Women's Tennis Association, that ages 14 through 17, you're only allowed to play 8 to 10 tournaments. It's a restriction on players who are 14 can participate in 8 professional events. Only 3 when the prize money is over $60,000. While a 17-year-old athlete can compete in 16 events with a little flexibility depending on their success. This was a Capriati, Jennifer Capriati deal where she was successful at the age of 13. So they did that. So I think she's in 10 events for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think there's a question about what events she can play in.
Right.
And again, she wasn't in the Wimbledon field. She was invited. She was an invite.
Right.
She didn't. She's a good player who didn't quite earn a spot there, but was good enough to earn an invite. And that's the most. It kind of feels like, and I think she may have said it in an interview. It was like she didn't have time to be nervous about it, right?
Yeah, no time. Yeah,
she was
right.
taking a math test and a high school math test, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, you're going to Wimbledon, and it's like, okay, she didn't have time to be scared.
Yeah.
But what?
Really
good player.
So because of,
and
I don't know how exemptions go with tennis and stuff. So because of her form at Wimbledon, does that get her in? Is she exempt to the U.S. Open in New York?
That I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how that goes. So I don't know if she has to go through qualifying there. But I would assume she has to be part of rankings now, right?
Was she a wild card? Was she a wild card at Wimbledon?
Yeah.
Yep.
I wonder. Well, they could invite her then probably at Wimbledon if they. I don't know what the rules are for wild
I would say
cards.
so that you got the French is over with, the Wimbledon's now about to be over with by this weekend, and you have the U.S. Open in New York later in, was that September or something like that? What is there any other big majors?
No, it's the last major.
Yeah, so curious to see.
I'm not sure what the.
She's impressive.
Yeah.
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 So.
Yeah, she's very good. Strong player, good head on her shoulders, very sharp and humble in her interviews. Really nice to see.
Very impressive.
Refreshing.
Yeah, very impressive.
Very refreshing. And the kind of tennis she was playing, unbelievable. I mean, some of the guts.
Yeah.
That I think at some point, some of it plays in, where she's not trying to be too delicate about it. It's like, this, I'm playing with house money. This is great.
Exactly.
Like, second serves that were just outstanding. Most of the time you see, player just try to loop,
just
get
it
that
over there.
second one
Yeah.
in, and she was just absolutely crushing some second serves.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, we got a couple of minutes left. Can you want to summarize your trip to Ireland in 5 minutes?
No, yeah, no, it was fun. Was able to go support a good friend, Paul McGinley, who was the face and the host of the Irish Open. So I was able to go over there for the week and have a great time. I think it's the first time. Well, it is the first time I've actually gone to Ireland with a carry-on and no golf clubs, which was kind of tough. But overall, it was a blast. Had a great time, and it was a huge success for the actual the town that it was put on. It was a huge success for the people of Ireland who supported it, and overall for great response for Rolex and Dubai Duty Free who have backed this tournament. And
what was the course, John?
It was at Lahinch in the southwest. So great little golf course. I love it. One of my favorite golf courses over there. And so it was a great time. And then 2 weeks from now is the Open Championship, which is just due north in Ireland, in Northern Ireland, at a place called Port Rush, where the likes of Darren Clark and Rory McIlroy, that's where they grew up. So it's a great good 2 weeks there for Ireland and the economy and there's a lot of people coming into the town. Even the tournament, the Irish Open, which is on the smaller scale, they sold out over 20,000 people each day. Came out to John Rahm won it. He shot 62-64 on the weekend to win. He was the top ranked player, so that was a nice thing to watch him come. He's a big fan of Ireland, even though he's from Spain. The people have treated him well there. He's enjoyed every bit of it, and so he was he's won it twice in the last 3 years, and I think last year he came in the top 5. So He's, I think Sevy's won the Irish Open 3 times, so now he's on the trophy twice. So he says he'll never not come to this tournament for the rest of his playing career to go after that goal of tying or beating Sevy in wins of the Irish Open. So he said a lot of the right things, and overall it was a quick trip, but it was a great trip. I'm glad I did it. So
Whose clubs did you use?
I didn't play at all.
You didn't?
Nope.
I'm
You
sorry.
made up for it by having a pint.
I was
or
a
two.
scratch handicap in the pubs though.
I bet.
19th hole.
Yeah.
Did you have to pay for any of your drinks?
Nope. I don't. So I went when I first got there. I took a couple guys out, and I bought the first round, and that was Wednesday night, and I never had to pay from that point on. Yeah.
God bless you.
Yeah. It was a great day.
May the road
Great
come
week.
up to meet you.
Well
Yeah.
worth the trip, huh?
Yeah. And the last night, I had a guy go, here's sip on this Jameson, and I'm like, oh boy, watch out. Now I'm going whiskey with the pint of Guinness. Yeah, I'm like, sipping is the key word there. Yeah, I'll be sipping that. So overall, it's great time.
And
That's good.
Good tip: never order an Irish car bomb
No, I would not.
in an Irish
no
pub.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if we don't have anything else, we are out.
Good night.
Peace.